The fight to rebuild the country's military. President Trump's first budget proposal calls for this: $603 billion in defense spending, which is about a 10% increase overall. That's $54 billion additional. Some Washington insiders say that that increase will not see the light of day, claiming that White House budgeting director Mick Mulvaney may have effectively sabotaged the spending increase. Joining me right now to talk more about it is Fox News military analyst General Jack Keane. General, it's great to see you.
It's good to see you, Marie.
Thank you so much. So you spoke with Senate Armed Services Committee staffers about this. What do you make of this? I know Mick Mulvaney is always looking to cut. He's a real budget hawk.
Yeah, he's a Tea Party guy who wanted to hold spending down, and most people do in Washington, given the extravagance of some of our budgets, to be sure. But I think what has happened here, there's a law that's capping the budget for 2017, and we're operating under what we call a continuing resolution. In other words, we don't have a 2017 budget. So we have a continuing resolution that holds us to 2016 budget levels. He has come in with a $30 billion increase in defense spending, and to get that approved, he needs to change the law. To change the law, you're going to have to get the Senate to approve it, and you're going to need the 60 filibuster rule to bust it. And because domestic spending is being cut complementary to defense increases, it's unlikely that they will approve it. So despite the fact that the president is talking about defense increases, those increases in the near term are unlikely.
Wow. And
the Senate Armed Services Committee has confirmed it to me as of yesterday. And I'm not even sure the president truly understands what's going on here.
Yeah, because, I mean, he thinks that he's going to be raising the budget for defense spending, and it's not happening, actually. It's not getting there. So Secretary James Mattis said last week that if the military does not get a lot more money than is currently permitted by law, it will need to scale back its strategy for dealing with overseas threats. He's
absolutely right. I mean, we have two major problems. The current force itself is hemorrhaging because it doesn't have enough money for pilots to fly, to buy munitions, to do the things that keep that force what we call ready. And the second thing that's happening is we're not modernizing the military to keep up with our adversaries' capabilities that they're developing. They have closed to our capabilities, and in some cases they are beyond our capabilities, which has never happened since World War II. So those are the two things that happen. We're not ready to fight, and we're not going to be ready to fight in the future if we don't put more money into this account.
You know, most people do not recognize the severity of this at all. At the same time, military officials have confirmed that 200 more troops are headed to the Middle East to assist in the offensive in Mosul. This is another example of the Pentagon's newfound freedom under President Trump, but White House Press Secretary Sean Spicer spoke about the administration strategy during the press conference yesterday. Listen to what he had to say. I want to get your reaction.
I think philosophically the president has made it very clear that that he wants to give the commanders on the ground much more flexibility to execute their mission, especially when it comes to defeating ISIS. That's a very big change in philosophy, but I think it also depends on the magnitude of the mission, the number of ground troops in particular, and so this is an ongoing discussion that he has with Secretary Mattis, Chairman Dunford, and others.
So, I mean, he's giving more leeway to the Pentagon compared to the Obama administration. But there's still this sort of boundary around the money that's going to end up getting on the battlefield.
Well, in terms of fighting wars, there is a difference. That's overseas contingency operations, and there's usually no limits put on that.
Okay.
So the funding for our troops in battle will be there, Maria. Now, this is good, what the president has done. He's given the Pentagon leeway that they've never had. If they want to increase troops, if they want to make slight modifications, they can do it. If they want to go strike someplace, they don't have to seek permission to do that. That is the way the military normally operates. Under the Obama administration, they had to ask permission to do everything, which made no sense because at times you would lose the enemy because it took days to get approval to do something. So this is good.
Yeah, that's good. But at the same time, Mick Mulvaney is basically sabotaging any opportunity to put new money toward readiness.
I think the people around the president, National Security Advisor, H.R. McMaster's, and others are going to have to sit down with the OMB director and have him lay out what's really going on here and what the expectations are. The president has an agenda. It's clearly his top priority to increase the defense budget and increase support for the military, and it's likely not going to happen in the near term.
Wow, and you have mentioned before that 70% or 50 to 70% of our planes in the Navy are not ready.
In all the services, somewhere between 50 to 75% of the airplanes are not ready to go. That is absolutely stunning.
That's stunning.
Only 1/3 of the Army's 58 combat brigades are ready to fight.
So where do you think the biggest need is right now in terms of readiness and preparedness?
All the services
Throughout.
need money to help them buy munition, pay for flight hours. What the American people have to understand, you want to fly airplanes so many hours a month to maintain your proficiency and keep the spare parts rolling, all of that costs money.
Right.
And they need the money to be able to do that.
What are some of our allies doing? I mean, you said earlier that we're not really keeping up with our allies in terms of technology. What do they have that we don't have?
What's happening is the Russians have they've developed a new tank that has a 2-man crew in it, and it has a special capsule in the front to protect the crew. It has better protection on the tank than we've got on ours. They've had a 2nd-generation active protective system on their tank, incoming round.
How have they done all this? I mean, Russia's economy is plummeting.
We've had this technology in civilian industry, trying to get it into the Defense Department for over 10 years. The bureaucracy in the Defense Department has not permitted that to happen. I gave testimony on this in January. It's absolutely outrageous. They have offensive missiles that can swarm on top of our targets, and they use UAVs to find a target, swarm the UAVs, and then within seconds deliver a battery of artillery fire, and the sensor to the shooter is just less than a minute.
Wow.
It's pretty remarkable what they've been able to do. Listen, we have the capability to do all of this. This is American industry, but we just have not been funding it.
Yeah, and it's really important, the point that you make, that this is not going to happen over the near term. Based on what we know, we're not going to be funding it. The money's not getting there.
I didn't realize it myself until the day before yesterday when I read an article written by somebody I have a lot of trust in, and I checked it with the Senate Armed Services Committee, so I think we do have a problem.
Incredible. General, thank you so much for your insights, as always.
Yeah, good talking to you,
Great
Maria.
to talk with you, as always. General Jack Keane joining us. We have